Hello everyone, so in this video I will be explaining you the chapter The Address, which is written by Margon Minko. So the story starts from here. The narrator went to her native place in Holland after the war in search of her mother's belongings. She rang the bell of house house number 46 in Marconi Street. A woman opened the door a chink and looked at her searchingly. The narrator came closer and introduced herself that she was Mrs. S. daughter. So the narrator was Mrs. S. daughter. The woman kept staring at her in silence. There was no sign of recognition on her face. The narrator thought perhaps she was mistaken, but she saw the woman was wearing her mother's green knitted cardigan. She knew at once that she had made no mistake. She asked the woman whether she knew her mother. The woman could not deny this. She said, "Have you come back? I thought that no one had come." The narrator said that she alone had come there specially to talk to her for a moment. The woman regretted that she could not do anything for her. She asked the narrator to come some other time and cautiously closed the door as if she did not want somebody inside the house to be disturbed. The narrator stood on the step for a while. She read the name plate Darling number 46. Then she left the place. So when she left the place, she was thinking about her old days, memories of her former days. As the narrator walked slowly back to the station, she was lost in the memories of days gone by. Her mother had given the address years ago when the war was going on. She was home for a few days. She noticed that something or other about the rooms had changed and various things were missing. Then her mother told her about Mrs. Darling. She was an old acquaintance of the narrator's mother. Recently, she had renewed contact with her and had been coming there regularly. Every time she left their house, she took something home with her. She said that she wanted to save all their nice things as they would lose everything. They would lose everything if they had to leave the place. The next day, the narrator saw Mrs. Darling going out of their house with heavy suitcase. She had a fleeting glimpse of Mrs. Darling's face. She asked her mother whether the woman lived far away. Then her mother had told the address, number 46 Marconi Street. The narrator had remembered it. Then the war ended and gradually everything became normal again. For a long time, the narrator did not have courage to go in search of her mother's belongings. Then one day she was curious about all the possessions that must still be at number 46 Marconi Street. She felt an urge to see them and touch them. So she went at that address. So here is this passage which is telling about her second visit. The narrator's first visit to Mrs. Darling's house was in vain. She decided to try a second time. This time, a girl of about 15 opened the door to her. Her mother was not at home. The narrator said that she would wait for her. The girl took her along the passage. The narrator saw an old-fashioned iron candle holder hanging next to her mirror. They never used it because it was much heavier than a candlestick. The girl made her sit in the living room and went inside. The narrator was horrified to find herself in a room she knew and did not know. She found herself in the midst of familiar things which she longed to see again but which troubled her in the strange atmosphere. She dared not to look around her. The cups, the cups, the white teapot with the gold border on the lid, the spoons, the pewter plate, everything painfully reminded her of her former life. Suddenly, the objects that were linked in her memory with the familiar life of former times lost this value. In strange surroundings, they too appeared strange. She no longer had desire to possess them. She thought that she would do with them in she thought what she would do with them in her small rented room. She got up, walked to the door, and left the room. She resolved to forget the address and move on. So, this was the chapter, The Address. Thank you.